partnership with Slalom. They're going to present for an hour, and then afterwards, you guys are welcome to stay, especially if you're on the bench, to ask any kind of questions. This presentation is brought to you by the Slalom DevOps group. We meet at this time every 2 weeks. So every other Friday, anyone's welcome to join the DevOps group. We have a forum on PicChat, things like that. So with all that said, I'm going to choose Kempton from New Relic.
Brent.
Okay.
Hi, guys.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks. I didn't do anything yet.
Okay. So, thank you so much for having us here. I'm from the San Francisco headquarters office of New Relic. Brent is from our DC office. And how many of you were here for when I spoke with James Conway in February? A few of you? I remember this room. This is very cool. Oh, look, the clouds have come in very conveniently to shade for us, so that's great. So again, continue eating, and we'll be here for about an hour or so. Just so you know, what's the schedule here. We'll be here for the hour, and as Paul mentioned, Brent and I will be staying after for office hours up until about 3:30. So if you have other questions and want to show us your application and things like that, then we'll have time for that. So I'm the Alliances Manager for our global consultants, of which Slalom is a key one for us. The company, I'll give you a quick background on the company and what our relationship is and what's going on, and then Brent will go into the demo of the product, and you can ask your questions as we go along. Okay? So our team, New Relic is about a 7-year-old company based in San Francisco, got about 1,100 people. The partners and alliances is under business development, and there's about 14 of us in that group. Our VP, John Gray, and my boss, Rich Nunez, actually I worked with them a long time ago at BEA Systems. And then I've been in partnership work for about 20 years. We also have a dedicated partner support person for technical, Rachel Knotts, in our Portland office. New Relic has 2 centers, basically. The sales, marketing, and execs are in San Francisco, and our support and development is based in Portland. We have other offices around the country for development and support, and offices in Barcelona and other places. And then Brent, I was just about to leave you, and Brent, who's here, is one of our technical account managers, working usually with some of the federal and DC accounts, but has graciously came here to help me out. And he's also from Chicago, so we enjoyed some of your wonderful eats last night. Quick background on Slalom and New Relic. So what's interesting to me about New Relic, and I've been with the company for about 3 years, is you're able to go onto the web, download our agents, they're small agents that are at the language level, instrument your application, get up and running, buy the software, get support, and you never have to talk to a human. And so this is actually completely opposite to what our founder, if you've heard of Wiley Technologies, which was bought by CA back in 2005, that was really the first APM, application performance management product. But it was done in a traditional enterprise way. You gotta get to a big chunk of software, install it, tune it, and all. And it was a great success running on the back of the Java wave back then, but he could see it wouldn't scale because we had to have so many professional services people. So when he sold that to CA, he said, next time I do this, I'm going to make it so it's the absolute opposite. It's very automated, it's very low maintenance. And so that's been the basis for New Relic. We are a SaaS-based product only. Our on-prem is really the agents that are at the language level. We support 7 languages: Ruby, Node, PHP, .NET, Java, and Python.
Go.
And Go.
Yeah.
Go. Thank you. So that's really been driving the success of the company's business, and a lot of Slalom people have there are over 60 accounts and over 100 users in the company are using the product on customer engagements and all, or for their own personal accounts, and they've never talked to us. They just use it and move on. So when Joel Rosenberger, who is our executive sponsor on the Slalom side, I know Joel from his time before at Second Watch, we got together and he said, we need to do something, it's a good fit between Slalom and New Relic. So we came up with an agreement, which I'll talk about in a moment. But Joel is our sponsor, and that's what got us here first when we were discussing with you all in February. We've given briefings at several offices and some over the phone. and actually met Andrew Cortez and Miguel from the London office when I was over there. This graphics here is just a quick snapshot of the usage that we've seen with Slalom users across different products. So the agreement we have in place, this was put into place in very late September, is what I call a $0 referral. So you all, of course, are developing applications and sometimes fixing them for your clients. And then since you don't have a managed services part, once you hand it over to the client, then it's up to them to run it, run the application. So our business model is that we're interested in clients for the production deployment, where they would ideally have multi-year contracts with us to help monitor their production implementation of whatever application they've got. Okay. So this works out well. You all get full pro licenses, meaning full capability for all of our products. We not only have APM, but a bunch of others, mobile, browser, infrastructure products, which Brandon will cover. And in return, we'll work with you on both introductions to those accounts once your applications are ready to turn over, as well as working on existing accounts of how we can help you in there for both increasing your value in there, as well as finding out other opportunities for us to sell the software. So that's the deal. You say, oh, go back. Sorry. You say, click happy, you're doing a good job. So they're at newrelic.com Slalom. I'll show that at the end, is a self-service sign-up. It says light on there. I don't know what it is. That's our free product, so just ignore that. But you can self-serve sign up at that location, and it'll show up. I'll get a little email saying, so-and-so from Solid is signed up. You just can track this.
And that link is also in the meeting invite for this company.
Oh, great, thank you. And then we have this webinar, which is being broadcast and archived, but we'll have continuing education webinars, perhaps in a specific vertical, like e-commerce or media handling, or maybe a horizontal. And so we'll adapt to be determined. And we're here also to work with Paul and Matt on getting this baked into your innovation lab, so it's part of when you do your development, it's there ready to use. Questions so far? How many of you have used New Relic? Oh, good, great. That's good to know. Great.
What am I doing here?
You will have the informed questions. Okay, next. So real quick, okay, a lot of you know about New Relic already, so I won't spend much time on here. We had been used on on-prem systems, but we have to have an HTTP connection out because we cannot work in an air-gapped situation, right? Because we're a SaaS company, we got the big server in the sky, which actually is to the west of here at the Chicago location, but we're increasingly using AWS services as well. So we have to have that connection. We got a little agent, 50 kilobytes or so for the language web applications. We have an SDK for mobile. But what's great about that is that it scales nicely. So if you have spikes in your customers' usage, or they just have a very large deployment, our system, someplace I heard that we were like the 5th largest consumer of RAM in this country, which I thought was amazing, for our setup to be able to scale and cover that. We've actually had Twitter feed their data into us for like 1 day to see how, that was one of our load tests one time. And I'd like to discuss that at some point with some of you if you're doing some IoT work. That also obviously lots of devices you gotta deal with the data. Okay, next. So real quickly, typically this is what we call the maturity scale. You have customers who have no application management or monitoring, and they just react. And then once they've gone through a couple, meltdowns and all, then they try to get something in place, and then that's where we usually sell our APM product. Next. Okay. And then once you have all this data coming in from your application, then you're actually able to then add value in terms of what you're doing for your customers from a business level. So, what is going on at the front end browser? How are they going through the purchasing process? How does that map to the iOS version or whatever you want to do to be able to understand your customers better? And then at the highest level, to be able to take that and be able to increase the business, increase the revenue for the customer. And we have products that map to this. Next, please. And these are our obviously low-level infrastructure. This is just monitoring the servers you've got, the APM product at the application level. And then as you move up end user, what's happening on the front end, the user experience on the mobile or browser, and then combine all of that under our Insights product to be able to look at this at a very global level, saying, what is happening here? Okay, next. So a little bit on AWS, since that I know that a lot of your development environment and a lot of your clients are products at the AWS marketplace, which they, before we just had a pointer to our site. So that's coming, that'll be announced at region event. The other part of this is what we've been doing in the field. We've done a number of boot camps with AWS, maintaining currency with their SAs around the world. AWS is a big sponsor of our event, which is actually next week in San Francisco, and we're a large sponsor at the reInvent in Vegas. How many here are going to reInvent? Great. So just stop by our booth. Just love to say hi and give you some further demos or answer any other questions you have. Real quick, I'll share these slides with you. Well, actually, it's being recorded, but I can share these slides with you also later. Is that with our new product infrastructure, this replaces what we had, what was called servers. And infrastructure is a purpose-built ability to not only get a lot more information from the servers, but then correlate that with the application. So it's not a replacement, nor is it meant to be competitive with CloudWatch, which is more of some higher level metrics with AWS. Okay. And last slide here. So a lot of what we're focused on is the migration support capability in terms of what happens before and then what happens after a migration. Obviously, there's a lot of other use cases for New Relic, firefighting, revenue optimization, things like that. But I put this up here because what we're seeing as a lot of your all's customers, particularly once you get outside of Silicon Valley, they're not doing necessarily greenfield, totally new things like an Uber or an Airbnb. They just want to either reduce their costs or move it to be a more flexible platform. So a lot of these migration points apply. Thoughts or comments so far? Okay. So I'll turn it over to Brent now for a quick run through of the product.
Thank you, Kempton. So thanks. I was going to do a really high-level overview of New Relic, but it seems like we don't have any neophytes in the room, so I'm going to spin it around a little bit, right? We'll dive a little deeper. That maturity model that Kempton was just talking about, understanding how the business is doing based on all the services that you guys are creating, right? All the users that are actually interacting with those services, right? With New Relic, we kind of spin the APM model, right? To try to look at the world from top down, right? So all the services that you guys are creating and provisioning for your customer bases, the computers, the networks, the databases, are all there to support your end user and the business, right? So why not look at the world from that perspective? And that brings us to what we call insights. This is our analytical layer, right? So this allows you to slice and dice and create views into the data that New Relic collects with its, APM, synthetics, servers, solutions, right? So that you understand from your perspective how your customers' services are supporting their business, right? So this is what your customers are going to want to see, right? So we've got dashboards here. What this is called is the data app. I put this together for this demo. It's being driven by some synthetic monitors that I have running, but to give you an idea of the types of things our customers do and look at with a tool like this. So things like homepage availability, things like synthetic monitor locations, where people are coming from, and performance from different geographical locations around the globe, right? Understanding your end user perspective from anywhere they're coming from, right? Truly what we do is simply put within one sentence is follow your end user transactions in real time, 24/7, 365, from browser, mobile device, across the complex infrastructure that's supporting it, back to the browser, measuring response times every step of the way, gathering detailed information as to where the longest running piece of that transaction is, right? So that you guys as developers and DevOps folks can use this as a circular kind of tool, right? When you're developing, you want to understand performance, you can use New Relic to look at detailed performance of the things that you're developing. Throw it over the wall to your customers. Wouldn't it be nice if you could have this built in, right? You can provide them views, right, of how you're doing, how the performance is, and have that all built in, right? So it's a big circular kind of situation, right? You throw it over the wall, it goes to production. We measure performance in production, find a problem in production. Hey, let's take it back to development with the baseline of the production performance, right? So now you understand what it's like in production, and you can test against that while you're developing, right? So that's pretty much it, right? So with this, we're going to give you views into a bunch of different things and give you the ability to slice and dice all those things that we're collecting data on, right? Here's another dashboard, right? That's looking at more business-related metrics, right? Logins, failed credit card transactions. These are just, demonstrations of things that you can represent within our Insights product, right? To make sure that the services are meeting the business needs and you're measuring the services performance against those business needs, right? So all of this data can be collected by New Relic as well as third-party data that you may have in other systems, custom attributes that your applications may be using that you want to represent within New Relic and Insights as well, right? We have an API that'll bring that data in as well. So this could be your central location. We have customers that are using this as a model, right? They have a bunch of tools. Not only are they using New Relic for APM, they got infrastructure tools, they got database tools, they have business KPIs, SLAs, everything they're sending over to us and using this interface as the the front or the model. Okay.
So this just real quick.
Go right ahead.
And so I think that's where essentially our application could embed an event to your API, and so rather than just kind of logging something or writing a record out to a database, we could be.
You could send it. You could write it to the database and send it to us, right? We have customers that are doing things like that, right? Yeah.
How is the failed credit card popular? Are you just looking at a URL or is the application posting?
So this is one of those custom, in this case, metrics that are getting sent in, driven by a synthetic monitor. So our synthetic monitors, you can do something simple as hit a web page, make sure it returns, hit a web page, verify some text, or you could do some multi-step functional type tests, right? So in this case, if you're a user, you log in, you look up something, you put your credit card in, it goes out, retrieves your credit card data, says approve, put it in a shopping cart, you're done, right? That would be driven by a failed synthetic test that said, hey, we put the credit card in, it didn't work, right? That's a custom metric that's getting sent in. Okay. Homepage analysis gives us another way at looking at things, right? You can see synthetic check count. We got performance by heat map from different locations around the globe. Top assets, average asset load time. This is being driven by a browser side of the house. So you can see there's a wealth of data So it gets updated. As we collect data, these things get updated. This is an example of a dashboard that Center for Medicaid and Medicare Services, who was a customer of ours, that actually is running this on the Affordable Care Act website. I hold the doc 8 years ago when they put that in. They actually brought us in to figure out what was going on with the Affordable Care Act website, right? So this is an example of what they actually have up in their NOC, right? Real time, real metrics being driven about performance of the key applications that the citizens are using on a daily basis, right? So they can actually look at performance here and say, what's going on? Things are going slow, things are running fast, things are erroring, synthetic checks are not working, databases are not providing data, and then they can drill down into the detail that New Relic can provide, right?
And maybe think of something else. Like, how do you deal with HIPAA and PII?
Perfect, great question. So New Relic by default collects data on performance, response times, CPU, heat, those type of things. By default, when your application makes a call to, say, a database, pull out PII, New Relic masks that by default. So the data that we send from our agent to the data store, all PII is masked, right? But you have the ability to, and the flexibility to unmask that if you want, right? If you want to report on those type of things, right? But you also have the ability to just lock it down in security considerations, like personal information.
There's a mode on the agents called security mode, which just locks it only to that. And so some of our HIPAA customers, they just that's all it is. Okay, fine, just lock it.
Well, high security mode, what that does is really lock down everything, the configuration of the system, right? So nobody can change it except for administrator. And then there's a configuration inside the agent that allows you to pick and choose what data you want to send over the wire. Okay.
So just standard like HIPAA filters look for it.
Anything. So basically, I'll show you. We're doing a SQL query. Let's go get Paul's social security number, his driver's license, and some other PII. Right. So they're going to write a query to pull that back. Right. All the specific Paul social security number, your driver's license number, all of that will be masked. Right. The query, the application is going to get that data, but we're going to mask any of the parameters that are associated. Select X mask, right? From Y mask, right? So all the specifics are up to
And if it's not being masked, you can write a custom filter.
Yes.
Like if it's something that's like it's not recognizing as PII.
Yes, yeah. You could turn it off. Say, I don't want to send this piece of data. Yeah. Yeah. But by default, everything's off, right? So generally, we're going to send our response time metrics, our measurements, and that's it. Okay. So this is the interface. This may look familiar to you. This is the interface that you, as users, will log into and look at to view the data that we collect, right? Here in this list is a list of applications that were being monitored, right? Different applications. You can see I have highlighted the storefront application. It's the Java application running on 4 hosts. This is going to give you a summary view of the performance of the application itself, right? So at the app server tier, we're trending about 20 milliseconds, excuse me. This is throughput, how hard the app server is working, right? How many responses in an interval are being sent back? Requests and responses are being sent back in a minute interval. So throughput and response time work together, right? The harder the server working, the longer things are taking to respond. Hey, you have a problem, right? So response time goes up, throughput goes down. Hey, that's an indicator of a problem, right? So we pick these metrics as indicators of problems that we think will surface detailed problems when we go down to the class and method level inside the app server side of the container, right? So you've got throughput. We also track any unhandled exceptions that the application may be spitting out in errors, right? 400, 404s, 500, things like that. So any unhandled exception, we're going to track those, right? The idea is to track as much relevant information about the application, bring it into this, what I call the single pane of glass or single point of truth, so that you can reduce that, tiger team exercise when you have a problem. Hey, application's out. You guys, need to figure out what's going on. Let's bring the network guys in the picture, server guys, database guys, application guys, all trying to figure out what the problem is. The idea is to bring all that together into this tool so that you can reduce that mean time to resolution, provide the best service you can to you. For your customers, the same, advance. Okay? So we're going to drill in. You can see over here indicators of performance. It's the red, green, and yellow paradigm, right? Red being bad, yellow being somewhere in the middle, green being good. These are all driven by thresholds, response times applied against those thresholds. Okay, so if things start running slow, reaching a 10-second threshold, let's start looking at stuff. Yep.
Is that the ability to look at kind of what's typical and variance from normal? Like, in other words, maybe,
Baseline?
yeah, kind of a baseline and variance.
So that is coming very soon. It's on our roadmap. So not only are we going to be able to baseline, we're going to be able to alert against spread, right? So standard deviation, hey, you may be 2 deviations from normal. Let's get somebody to look at that. Yep, definitely. So what we can do here is drill in and look at the detail of the performance of the application, right? And this is where you as developers will spend a lot of your time, right? This is inside the application container. What we're looking at here is web transaction time as it flows through the application server, right? And the different components of that transaction that flows to the application server. Blue being JVM, that's the time spent in the JVM, about 15 milliseconds. Green being making, in this case, external calls. We have external calls to the application. The blue line at the top is the overall response time, right? Over here on the right, we have a concept of applet score. This is our summary that allows you to summarize the performance of whatever service or application you're looking at, right? It really is a ratio of good things to bad, right? How many transactions flew through, how many transactions completed, how many transactions completed under the threshold, and how many, how long things are taking, basically. How many transactions completed without errors, right? So that's a ratio of good to bad. So the closer you are to 1, the better off you are, right? And this is a summary measurement. It measures the browser side of the house, which we'll talk about in a sec, and as well as the app server side of the house, right? So if you are, below 0.8, you may want to look at your application. It may be airing out. It may be, the heap is doing garbage collection too many times, and all work is stopping on that. It could be a lot of things, but it gives you an idea as to the performance of the application from a summary level, so that you can take a deep dive and find out what's going on, right? And you can alert against those things. Here we got the throughput. I mentioned that. That's how hard the actual application is working in the interval, and you can see that here. When you highlight a graph, you get the same in context at the same time of all the metrics that you're looking at in that page, so that you can correlate. Okay? Questions? Make sense? For you guys, get deeper. Transactions, right? So I mentioned that we're looking at real transactions, real time, 24/7, 365. This is where you spend most of your time when you're doing troubleshooting, right? These are called transaction traces. And simply put, these are a step-by-step accounting of, bear with me here. Step-by-step accounting of the actual transaction as it flew through the application server here. So you can see the call stack, right? And what this is, again, the red, green, and yellow paradigm, what this is just giving you ideas where the longest running piece of that transaction is, right? We can quickly go to that because it's red, right? So this JSP service is calling some application code right here, and this transaction is spending 93% of its time at this class of method right here, right? So now you can go to this method and say, hey, what the heck is it doing and why is it taking so much time? Right? That's the idea, right? Is to track all of those and you get out ahead of users calling in and saying, hey, I can't do X or things are running slow. With this is very much a proactive tool such that you're measuring this in real time. You get out ahead of the users calling in, like God forbid, like application outage. So,
how many people have been on a project that used enterprise services that maybe your client had written even before you got there or being developed in parallel? Hey, this page is slow, right? And then now you're kind of asking, well, we're having to get these 4 external services, and it's really not us. We're pretty fast, and trying to write things out to the logs. So you can kind of monitor that, see what's getting worse or better, right? And we've always sort of in the past we've hacked our way through it by logging out and logging things and trying to collect that, and then running analytics on those. Wouldn't it be great to be able to demonstrate? Oh, it's the person service for those from BCP or something, the eligibility service, and here's 98% of the time is being spent there. And, you know, it looks like maybe some indices would help because, you know, we're seeing that the, you know, the CPU and I/O on our database are spiking in these calls. That'd be really cool.
And definitely a project where, like, you're creating legacy services, but they're gonna be the slowest piece.
Yeah, the stuff that you all the stuff. And this illustrates exactly what you were just talking about, right? This is a transaction trace, right? And this is an app server breakdown, the different services that are being called in that transaction. What this graph is showing you is that this brown piece, which is actually business logical cleanse data, right? Quickly and easily, you can see where the longest running piece of that transaction is, right? So think about it in the troubleshooting section. You would have gotten an alert to say, hey, this application, this transaction is truly slow, right? You could come to this page, look at transactions, look at the longest running transaction as filtered or grouped by the most time consuming, and quickly within 2 clicks find out where, you know, where the application is slowing down. We're going to give you more detail though. When you drill down, here's just a breakdown table, high level, right? And we're going to get into the detailed transaction trace. I wanted to show you this one because this is something different than the one I just showed you. This one has database queries in it, right? So this one, you can see that this is a call stack, and most of the time it's spent doing a database query on MySQL level, right? And this is where it's cool. You could actually drill down and see all the detail of the actual application and the query, the database instance that it was hitting, as well as query analysis associated with that query. This is new, actually, so I was actually surprised with myself. This is I had to see this. This is very new, right?
Yeah. I'm guessing it looks like the JVC driver.
Yeah, exactly. So
I was say the full table scan is cool. It's cool that we find out it's the full table scan.
So yeah, I mean, we have a scenario in here where a method is actually doing a call to a database. It's doing, you know, 579 calls within one method. We call it that 5,000 cuts, right? Those are the type of things that you will see that will be surfaced with this solution. Okay, questions? Right. So in addition to that, I mentioned CMS and their NOC. They also have something like this in their NOC. This is our service maps, right? So this allows you to understand the path of the application, the performance of the application, the relationships, right, upstream and downstream. So if the inventory service goes down, you'll know that the order service is going to have a problem. Storefront is going to have a problem as well, right? So this allows you to actually drill down into the same performance that we just saw in the overview page right from this map, right? So again, our customers are having these type views up on their NOC wall as well. So for you guys as, you know, developers, you know, when you're testing on the dev side, this may or may not be helpful for you, but on the customer side, this is very helpful, right?
So I'm piecing this together based on the different agents, and maybe there's some IT method.
Yeah, so you can, so this is automatically built based on our agents, right? You can add things to this as well, right? If you have things that we don't have agents on, gotcha, right? ESP, right? It's in the path. Yep, right, so we don't have an agent on it, but you want to understand that you can add things like that.
Yeah, it's some custom components.
Yep. So we also have, and I'll talk about that in a sec, the concept of plugins, right? Plugins are agents that we've developed and that some of our customers have developed that actually bring that third-party stuff in, right? So database-related information, web server-related information, ESB-related information. You may want to understand the performance of those pieces of your architecture as well, right? Right now, our agent lives at the app server tier and on the browser side. But there are other pieces of the application besides the app server and the browser. So you want to understand the performance of those, that's where our plugins come in.
So I had a year ago, so I took the application instrument at the front and back end, and then I used the AWS plugin that was like running EC2 to basically take all those CloudWatch metrics and pipe them in here.
Oh, really?
Utility.
Oh, you're ahead of our infrastructure then, right? That's what our infrastructure piece is doing. So I'll talk about that in just a second.
Exactly. But it was nice because even though there was no agent, we still had pipe data in.
Yeah,
And I didn't have to write it from scratch. I just grabbed the plugin and just executed it.
REST-based API, send it on in. Yeah. So yeah, this gives you the ability to map out your application, understand the dependencies upstream and downstream, and understand performance. Right? Let's just go here. I want to show you something else.
one of the things that I have sat in my early days at New Relic in with a client and a consultant, and when they showed this and just explained what the problem was, the client's going, wow, you mind if we extend our engagement? We're going, wow, that was powerful. So it makes, basically, like I said, it makes you look good because you're able to back up what you say. You know, it's not just a, you know, he said, she said thing. And, you know, it's unequivocal, it's there, and it's super.
They have resolved your services already to justify that it's not you.
Exactly.
Yes.
With the finger pointing, yeah.
That happens all the time.
Oh, yeah.
With you guys as developers, I'm sure it's, the customers are probably doing that, right?
Right. The first place
So-
is when you develop, oh, it must be developed.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, we're building a foundation. It's not like speaking.
Would have been nice if you could prove it to me.
Yeah.
Is what it's right? It's your network. It's not ours. So this is looking at the other side of the coin, right? I mentioned the app server tier. This is the browser side of the house, right? So how long things are taking to render on the browser side. That's always important. This is what I call the last mile of that transaction, right? Traditional APM tools didn't measure this, right? It measured after it left the browser to the web server, and right. So a lot of times, you know, JavaScript errors, AJAX calls are slowing down, things that are happening in the DOM, on the rendering of the page are important to understand as well, right? So we're tying browser to the back end, right? And we're giving the same height metrics on the front end, right? Except for we're looking at it from the browser side of the house, right? So time spent in the DOM, time spent on the network, time spent in the web application, and time spent page recording, right? Instead of transaction traces, we're going to give you session traces, right? Which are individual sessions that actually connected to the app server and initiated those transactions. You can see throughput, throughput by browser, right? Our customers like this. So if you're writing an app and you want to test against Chrome versus IE versus Safari, those type of things with our browser agent, we're going to be able to measure the differences across those as well. Okay? JavaScript errors. You can drill down, you got an idea of the errors that may be happening on the browser side, so that you can understand, you know, again, JavaScripts that may be airing out, how long those JavaScripts are taking. Maybe session traces. Question?
How does that agent get distributed?
That's a great question. So dynamically, the agent that just on the application can dynamically inject a little JavaScript.
Okay.
We also have manually inject it as well.
So there's some support also for single page app metrics as opposed to like.
We support single page app as well. Yes, we
So
certainly
a
do.
lot of our apps are front end, like Angular or React.
Mhm. Yeah, we totally support that.
Like a Java backend or
Mhm.
whatever else.
Yeah. I mentioned geography. A lot of our customers, especially our global customers, like this, right? So you can tell where your customers are coming from and performance of those geographic regions based on, you know, the data that we're collecting with that little JavaScript and, you know, Web 2.0 timings that are built into the browsers themselves, right? So you get average page load time, average network time, same similar type data from a geographical standpoint, right? All of this data is collected and kept by default for 90 days. So you can look at data today versus what it looked like yesterday versus what it looked like last month. Revs, right? You guys are building Rev 1, 2, 3. You want to understand. So it's helping our database for 90 days. Okay. We talked about APM. Let's go into another thing on the APM side. Errors. Right, I mentioned that we actually trap all unhandled errors, all unhandled exceptions that are spitting on the application, so that you can understand what's going on, and if that may be holding up the application as well, right? This gives you several different views. Error rate is a metric that we track out of the box, right? So the percentage of errors in a given interval. Not only do we evaluate that, but we actually track the individual errors as well. Okay.
All the JavaScript errors.
Yeah. You can see error traces that we have. Here's one right here that gives you an idea. It gives you stack trace, gives you all the attributes from the error, if there are related tickets, the actual JSON associated with it. So again, we're just trying to collect all the relevant information so that you can make the troubleshooting easier, faster, and more efficient. Right? Deployments is another feature that we have. We actually can, track within the tool. We can deploy a new Relic application. You can see it right within the graph itself and understand, again, performance before and after, right? Understand where things that were deployed. There is a, let's see if we got something here.
I mean, is it something like a deployment tool you're using with Relic, or just figure it out based on?
So actually we have to throw something in the actual code, right? Yeah, it says, hey, we deployed something. Yes, there is a little.
So you don't confuse it with like resource?
No. There actually is something that we throw, a little tag that we throw in. Yeah. So all of this, application-related metrics, performance of the application, performance of the browser, databases, ESBs is all represented here. What also is important is understanding how the servers that the application is running on is performing. So this is our legacy server offering, which actually monitors the server or the hardware the application is running on. We got basic metrics, CPU, physical memory, disk I/O. You can see some processes that are running, the user that they're running as, the actual memory CPU that they're using, some configuration of the box itself. Right. This was a free tool that we offered with our base language agents. We are releasing next week a new offering that we're calling infrastructure that allows us to look at the infrastructure from a separate standpoint, right? And group the infrastructure performance from views like this, right? So this is actually looking at the whole infrastructure. And it gives you the ability to slice and dice individual servers, Docker containers, EC2 instances, any of those things that the applications are running on, right? And look at the performance of the infrastructure as a whole, right? As you can see here, we've got similar metrics, CPU, load, memory, right here from this view. And we have up top here, context, right? Events. This is what's new. We're actually going to be able to track events that are actually happening on the individual server. Something got installed, package got installed, performance. Some person logged into a box, installed a package, suddenly the performance of the application spiked, CPU of the box spiked. That person that logged in and installed that package, what package got installed, where it got installed, all gets tracked, right? So that now you can track events and tie them to performance of the application, right? And you can slice and dice, like I said, filter.
You got a question?
Based on, yeah, question.
So for the infrastructure, how does the agent work? Is it a different agent?
It is a separate agent, yes. But you, from the download page here, you just, just like you install our Java agent, you pull it down, you install this agent.
Okay, so is that a Java-based agent?
Is the agent Java-based? Yeah. It's Node-based, actually. Yeah. A lot of our backend stuff too.
You just install it.
Yeah, you just install, you pull down a package, you install it, basically. Very easy, right? So this is what our users really like. Now they can tie application to the infrastructure and use this as an infrastructure monitor and model, specifically focused at, this is good for our on-prem customers, but this is also really exciting as it relates to our customers that they get cloud. So what is the problem? Go ahead.
No,
I was just going to say, since this is an agent, it's running, say, on top of your guest operating system, let's say Windows or Linux or
correct,
etc. So if I'm running, say, an EC2, and let's just say I've got like a T-series micro instance, that's using CPU credits, etc. That agent wouldn't know when it's not running, right? So is there a way to correlate that with, say,
exactly where I was going, right? So actually, the exact opposite, that agent would know, right? So this agent is smart enough to know and tie into the CloudWatch infrastructure to know. One of the problems with is understanding the dynamic nature of the crowd, what's purposefully killed, and what has just been spun up and spun down, right? With this agent tied into CloudWatch, we can now understand the dynamic nature of the individual services. So we've got customers, say for instance, in their EC2 instances, New Relic agents already built in, and the infrastructure is already built in. Spin up an instance, starts reporting data. You get the data, you get the server data, goes down. Now you know it went down. You know when it went down. It allows you to understand, you know, the ephemeral nature of your infrastructure and the dynamic nature of it.
So I'm just looking at some data that AWS exposes.
Yes, a CloudWatch is what AWS exposes. It has a lot of metrics associated with the instances in EC2. The performance metrics associated with those EC2 instances are part of the CloudWatch service that
So just to make sure I'm totally getting that. So what you're saying is the agent that's running on top of the guest OS is seeing it from that perspective. It's then tying into data that's exposed via CloudWatch to correlate those two to say, you really, you know, the guest OS looks like, you know, thinks it was running at 100%, but the reality is due to your share of overall, like in your CPU credits, like that's why maybe you're seeing.
Yes. So you could do those type of correlations, yes. So you can look at the world from a network standpoint, and again, these are all the hosts or a subset of any of the hosts that you may be looking at, right? So the network I/O, right, associated with the boxes that we're looking at, storage, right? So you know the storage, the S3 storage that maybe you'd be using in the Amazon or network attached storage that you may have in your on-prem servers. This will tell you obviously how that is affecting the overall performance of the application as well. Processes, right? We talked about that. Right, individual procs that are running on the box, and specifics regarding this box, right? How much memory, how much CPU. So all could be, interesting data. Yeah.
We actually see the agent on this list.
The actual, actually, our agent. Let me see if we have anything in this list.
So one of the drivers, for developing this capability was there's been a number of news items that talk about how a config file was changed. And of course, that either brought down the system or it would really added whatever service that was out there. And there really was no good approach for addressing that. And New Relic acquired a small group of people called Opsmatic about a little over a year ago, 6 guys in San Francisco. And they had the same vision, and so basically we just took that and that became the infrastructure product, of which we will be doing this kind of visibility for all cloud systems. We're starting off with AWS and we'll do a similar thing for Azure and others to go along with. But obviously, AWS has got the momentum now, so we're investing in that first.
So it's probably one of these Java processes right here. Unfortunately, the demo says we don't have the individual, but yeah, you could, and you would be able to see the agent running as well. Sorry about that, guys.
And is there a way to correlate from like services from the other view to over here to the infrastructure?
Good question. So
the services know like what AWS is right now.
So
Please match up, I think.
Unfortunately, in this demo set, they're working on it, they're tweaking it. Right now, it's not showing, but there is another graph that shows in this view that's down here. That is the application view, right? The services that you're looking at. So when you correlate across all those things.
I've seen that list.
Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on here. They're working. So this is getting released next week, so they're actually tweaking this demo system and such, right? Inventory. This is where it gets really, our customers are really giddy, right? So not only do we capture events, we're going to inventory what's on boxes, right? So now you have the ability to do things like, remember a couple years ago, they had the heartbleed bug, right? And OpenSSL, right? We had customers who were like, man, we had to search our whole environment to figure out what box had what on it. And then it took us 5 days to update all of our environment with the OpenSSL proper. With this type of solution, you can actually just search across your whole inventory and do things like OpenSSL. When query, as this loads, it'll actually load all the boxes that are running OpenSSL, right? And the packages that are installed on those boxes. And then you can do things like drill down and see the individual hosts where they're actually installed, right? And the versions, right? Right? So that gives you the ability to understand, in this case, hey, these two 84 and 14 hosts have the proper version, but we've got 6 hosts that have the legacy version. Let's go find those 6 hosts, update them, and make them right? So you have the ability to search across your inventory, right, for specifics in anything that's installed on any of your boxes.
So the server agent, like query kind of like operating system package, like it's not jam or.
Yep, exactly. I mean, same goes from the Windows side of the house, right? It's looking at install programs and things like that. Right? Right? Events, right? Again, we talked about events, right? But this is where you as a user can do things like, hey, here's a timeline, right? So from that first screen, I could click one of those event boxes that were at the top. It would brought me to this view. You can see things like, hey, somebody installed a package. That package was installed by whom? We had a warning violation be after that package, which is correlating with somebody installed something and now everything went haywire. We got a critical violation. So that this gives you an ability to do change management, right? See what changed. Whenever there's a problem, I've been doing this for a long time. Kempton mentioned CA Wiley and the original APM tool. I sold that for a long time. I worked on that for a long time. And one of the things that customers always ask when they're troubleshooting, the first question is what changed, right? We changed something, what changed? That's what this is going to do for you, right? I want to tell you what changed, tell you who did it, when, why, so that you know, right? So you can see there's a wealth of information that we gather. We try to bring it all here, right? To help you troubleshoot problems quickly, easy, and more efficiently. Right? We talked about browser, right? But there's some other things in the world called mobile devices that are actually people use these days, right, to understand performance on the mobile side of the house. We have a mobile agent or SDK, right, that'll allow you to not only understand performance, but do like crash analytics on the mobile side, iOS or Android devices, or hybrid apps that may be running on your mobile device, right? Again, understanding the end user experience is key, right? The users are there to use whatever you guys are creating, right? So if they're having a good experience, who cares if, one of the servers in the load balance set of application servers is dropped off the face of the earth. The users can do what they need to do, then you're good, right? So you need to measure end user experience. It's key to any APM solution. So with mobile, we're able to measure it on the mobile side of the house as well as your traditional browser-based side of the house.
Real quick on that, because I know a lot of people are thinking, well, we have services that are providing the data to the front-end experience, why bother? But I know we've got a few people that have been involved where there's an API design that requires, say, 50 round trips just to sort of answer a business question. Each one of those responses on the server side is quite quick, but from having the data to show you've changed, you've turned something that on the server side looks quite benign into a real end user experience issue, it could be quite powerful.
And tying the two together, you're exactly right. Tying the two together.
So quick question here. How many of you have used the mobile product? It's an SDK that you roll it into your apps. Oh, good. Okay, great. Cool. Yeah, we're known for the APM, which I think a lot of you have done, but we just obviously go out to the other product. Okay.
Is there anything about container specifics? Those are big.
Yeah. So we support containers, right? I think this demo set I've got some Docker containers.
Containers are going to be really going into container installing anything.
Yeah. So this is actually a server. The Docker container, right? You got details regarding the same details, and you can also have Docker-related specific metrics as well.
Is there an integration with like all these cluster management solutions like Kubernetes, like browsers that are coming out, and they kind of have their own metrics specific, or like even ECS, like Amazon ECS. I'm sure they have their own cluster specific metrics.
So I'm sure there are. Have we developed an agent to pull that in? I don't think.
I'm just thinking like stuff that's probably.
Yeah, so those are great questions. So that's where these would come in, the plugins, right?
Yes, if you're using Kubernetes or any kind of like other cloud container management scheduler.
Right, the data's there.
Right.
You could use a plugin, go get it, format it, bring it into the route as well. These are plugins that we've created that are in our store currently. Right?
So just to, add a little bit more detail to this, the good news about these is that you can make this, very quickly. Most people make this just in a couple hours. The bad news is it's aggregated metrics. You cannot pull a single thing out of it. It just aggregates it. And you also have a limitation of a maximum of 5 metrics you can display. So that's the bad news. The good news is that because of what we've been doing with the infrastructure product on our back end, we are going to, not in the immediate term, probably my guess is about 6 to 9 months from now, we will be able to make an agent. We already have an agent SDK now, but it's a little complex and a little funky. You will be able to do those plugins, but then be able to pull individual metrics and transactions from that. So that's coming. So if you start bumping into the fact that those are aggregated, we're working on it.
Because I feel like noise and just.
Exactly.
Right, and that's what this whole agent was built on, gives us the flexibility to go out and get more detailed data. Like I showed you on the service maps, right? Yeah, I told you that you could actually manually put things on there. With this, wherever we have an infrastructure agent, we'll be able to show up on the service map automatically, right? That's work that's coming.
Philosophically, we made the decision as a company about a year ago, and it was just announced internally, was that, you look at just about every other service out there, I mean, not just our competitors, but anything, because of the vast volume of data, there is some kind of aggregation or consolidation going on. And we made this decision about a year ago, we're going to keep every individual metric. So, as long as you keep your data retention up, you could go back 6 months to that one transaction, at 6:22 in the morning on the mobile application and get that one transaction. So we used to aggregate them like everyone else, I think, after 90 days, and now we can know we're just going to keep everything.
Okay, this is the last piece. This is synthetics, right? This is very similar to what you saw on the browser side, except for these tests are driven by synthetic robots, right? So in this case, I mentioned you can do a basic ping of a page. You can hit a page, verify text, or do scripted multi-step functional tests, right? So this allows you to mock up user interaction with the application. You guys as developers could use this to do some testing. Having users, not have access to something like a load runner or something like that. You just want to do some quick functional testing. Synthetic is great for that. In addition, if you don't have the ability to, install one of our language agents on the application side of the house, but you still want to understand the performance of the application, synthetics is awesome for that as well, right? And these tests run from several locations around the world, robots that are in different locations around the world. And you can pick and choose where you want to run them from, right? And this gives you the ability to understand from the internet in how your applications perform. Internet-facing applications are performing. You also have the ability to install an on-premise pod that you can run tests from behind the data center wall as well, firewall as well. So with that, we're at the top of the hour. I know we had an hour set for this. I'd like to answer any questions. In the back?
Did the graphs in the UI allow you to perform any sort of transformation of them? So like,
What
say you're
kind?
trying to isolate something really subtle of the trend.
Yeah. So you want to drill into a time period or something like that. Yeah, you can do things like, hey,
I don't care about everything below 60 milliseconds period.
So you can drill in. You also have a time picker up here that will allow you to slice and dice the time period for which you're looking at the data.
Yeah, you just want to apply filter.
Yep. So you don't care about SQL. You only care about JVM. I just turned off the SQL calls. Yeah. Right. So yes, you have the ability to do that. You also have the ability to save these for your insights dashboards as well, right? So any of the views here, you can create. You can actually transform it to a dashboard and put it up on the inside side of the house as well. Any other questions?
Due to the fact that it was mentioned earlier that you could potentially see the agent in the list of applications that you have running
On the process,
Yeah.
the process.
Just curious, how much due to the granularity of the data that's posted here and how much you can drill into, how much does the agent's collection and processing and sending of the data to Relic contribute to the potential decrease in throughput or increase in response time?
Awesome question. So this was designed to monitor production-based applications, right? So we all know by monitoring applications, you don't want to add to the performance degradation of the application, right? So to answer your question, the numbers that we quote are between 0 and 2% performance hit on the application server that our agent is installed on, right? So it's negligible. There is a circuit breaker built into the agent, right? So if things start trending bad on the application side, hey, say you hit your max heat, right? Things start doing garbage collections, right? So our agent has a circuit breaker that will stop collecting everything, right? Until the performance of the application and the server that is running it is improved.
But what if it's retaining the information, it's storing it locally?
Yes,
Until,
yes.
And it can rebroadcast that, right?
Okay, exactly. Say that could be.
You're not going to miss data, right? But you don't want to affect the application that you're monitoring as well.
And then what it's actually sending are just kilobytes, because all, at the highest level, what we're doing is we're putting little start-stop timers at each request within the software. So it's like, what's the delta time for this associated with this call? So it's a pretty small amount of data.
Mm-hmm. Very small. Any other questions?
So before everyone goes, again, we'll be here.
Hang on, Kenton. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah.
Is there any way of exporting the reports that are generated within Relic? So like if the client wants a screen cap of what is going on, is there a way to export it?
You can export these views as PDF, CSVs if you want to. You also have an API, a REST-based API, that you can tap into our database and pull any of this data out. And we have customers that are pulling the data out using third-party reporting tools, Tableau, things like that, Cognos. So yes, there are multiple ways to get data out of it as well.
The embed feature still in the charts?
Yeah. That's what,
So okay. So you could embed any of these charts into.
and another page per se, right? As a, just a widget in the page. So yes. Any other questions?
So the most important thing is I brought some T-shirts. Okay. I got 8 mediums, 8 larges, and 8 extra larges. I was feeling amazing, just looking at the crowd here, you all are trending toward the medium and larges. So if I run out, I'll send some more here. But you're welcome to stay after. Like I said, we're going to be here till about 3:30 or so. Just like, can we hang out there, I guess?
Yeah,
It's chilling.
I had the room booked until.
Oh, okay, right. But then please come grab T-shirts. This is the medium pile, large, extra large pile. So
We don't have to record the rest of it.
Yep.
You can't do that to it.
great. Thank you all so
Thank you.
much.
Thanks, guys.